Hello, my name is Leonard Small. I am the Vice President and Chief Spokesperson of the Weeping Time Coalition. We're called the Weeping Time Coalition because we are a group of organizations who've come together to save the site of the single largest sale of slaves in American history. It took place on March 2nd and 3rd in the city of Savannah, out by a racetrack. And they're threatening to build on that site. On that date, they sold 429 of 436 slaves offered over a 2-day period. It started raining as they started selling human beings, and it rained torrentially until they sold the last. And they said it was as if God was crying, and they called it the Weeping Time. That property is being threatened, and the Weeping Time Coalition has had to take the extraordinary step of taking the city of Savannah to court. The hearing on motions will take place on December the 20th, that's Tuesday coming, at 1:30. We are gathering at the courthouse at 12:30 in the afternoon to show support for our hope of saving this site. Many people have asked many questions, and we're making this in a hope of explaining to some degree what we're about and why we're doing it. And Retta, you got questions?
Yes. One question is, why do you want to save the Weeping Time property but want to tear down the Confederate monuments around the city and other states as well?
It's like the difference between you saving something that venerates a tragedy, an atrocity, compared to saving an area to remember and not repeat an atrocity. If you save a monument for the Confederacy, you're saying basically the Confederacy needs to be honored. Well, we're not trying to honor this event, we're trying to remember this event. Much like you would Treblinka, or Dachau, or Pearl Harbor, Gettysburg, Ground Zero. That's the thought here. And so, no, it's not the same. If you're going to save a Confederate memorial, you're saying the Confederacy was right and good and honorable. We're trying to save an area to remind human beings of man's capacity to be inhumane and to basically say, let's not do this again.
Now, at this day and time, you have a city council that's basically predominantly black. Where do they stand on this issue?
We have a supermajority of African Americans on city council. The city of Savannah has 9 persons with an African American mayor who is not helping us. His name is Van Johnson, and we have there's 7 African Americans out of 9 people on council. We should not be having this argument, but everybody our color is not our kind.
All right.
All skin folk are not kinfolk.
Okay.
But the issue is not black or white, believe it or not. The issue has drawn support from Republicans and Democrats, from gay, straight, religious, atheistic. I mean, from every corner of society. We have people, and with my being, quote unquote, the vice president and Pastor Gordon being the president, we're still not a black organization by a far reach. Our membership has always been between 40 and 60% non-black. The participation has always run along those lines. And so to say that it's a black issue, this is an American issue. This is a story that should have been told that wasn't told. And when we found out, and I've been in civil rights since I was 10 years old, and I'm 72.
Okay.
I only found out about the Weeping Time sale here in Savannah, to my chagrin, about 7 or 8 years ago. And when I was told this by the president of our organization, Pastor Gordon, I cried. Because I just couldn't believe I could have been that ignorant about something right here in my town, where I live, where I grew up. I was one of the first black students to integrate Savannah High School in 1965. How could I not know?
Okay.
You know, I've been, civil rights have been our lifeblood. It was in my home. Hosea Williams, personal friend, came to sit around and ate at our table. W.W. Law, you know, our personal friends with Joe Lowry, stuff like that.
So this passed you by.
Yeah, how could this have passed me by?
And then you're a ferocious reader. So if it passes you by, then how does everybody else who really just picks it up and turns it back?
And the thing, and you're right, I read. I've been loving reading since I was a baby, just about. And for me to read, to do all the reading I've done, research I've done, to have lectures around the world on social events, that just doesn't make any sense.
Okay. And who funds this organization to help push? You have lawyer expenses, courts as well. So how does this thing work?
Anyone who wants to give can give, because you can go to our Facebook page, Unity Political Action. The Weeping Time. You just look up the Weeping Time on Facebook, or the weepingtime.org.
Coalition.
The Weeping Time Coalition.org. That's our webpage. And you will see the emblems and you could give.
Okay.
Mostly, though, the people in it, myself and others, have funded it so far. The expenses have not been unreasonable so far. This legal thing is running up the numbers a bit, but we're all right so far. We appreciate any help we can get, but some of us have made a personal commitment that no matter what it takes, it's going to get done.
Okay, then why do the Salvation Army want to build on this particular lot?
Here's the thing. We pointed out to the Salvation Army 12 places in our geographic area. There are more that they could have easily built, including a site that they already own. I honestly believe that it is that erasure mentality of things pertaining to African American history and slavery and such. We found this in Philadelphia, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, Selma, Tulsa, Oklahoma with Black Wall Street, just on and on and on. So that the spirit of trying to not tell the story, the gross mischaracterization of critical race theory. Who ever heard of not teaching something? Who ever heard of America where they would ban a book or an idea? I think we're losing track of who we are as a nation. If you disagree with my supposition, debate it with me.
Okay.
That's all we used to do.
Okay.
And of course, I've got friends and partners that are staunchly Republican, voted for Herschel and for Trump, and they're part of the Weeping Time Coalition. We can do this. We can agree on what we agree on, disagree on what we disagree on, and the process of doing good can continue to flow.
Okay. Now I've read different events from different eras in time, and sometimes it's the tearjerker. on that day on March the 2nd and 3rd, how would it have been for the slaves that was being sold? Were they families, or were they just they were going together? Or
There are two books. There are two books. One by Bishop Lotson, who is a direct descendant of the Gullah Geechees, who were sold from Butler Plantation, and another written by Ann Bailey, a PhD historian from the New York State University system. I can call, as a minister, a picture, because they were sold in units, direct family units. But they were sold. They were sold during a time when there was no regard for an African American human being. They would have been inspected. They were there on site for almost a week, 5-6 days. They were open for inspection during that period. If it were me and my wife and my daughter, my wife probably would have been telling me the day before, just get this picture. Leonard, no matter what they do, don't let them kill you. And I would have been saying, but they're going to be doing things to you that I can't take. And she would have been saying, but how are we going to make it without you? So no matter what they do, for God's sake, just stay calm. Don't let them kill you. And they would come, they would stand my wife up, they would put their hands under her dress. They would feel her butt, her breasts, and her other parts, saying they were inspecting her when they would just be predatory. And I'd have to stand there, all the man that I am, and watch, and not say anything. Because if I even say, hey, if I said no, they would beat you to death and get away with it. There would be no repercussions. The man who owned the land where the sale took place at the time had been the former chief of police in the city of Savannah.
Get out.
He had been indicted that same year for bringing in slaves illegally from Africa. His boat, his yacht, that they had converted to a slave ship, had been confiscated by the U.S. government. He went on trial for that charge. We got to get the picture of the times. He went on trial for that charge, but because he had a jury of his peers, and he was the popular former chief of police of Savannah, he was exonerated. And then the U.S. government sold his ship at auction because it was used in a criminal enterprise. And they confiscated it. He bought it back. It's the times. So no matter what they did to us, they were going to win.
They had no right.
They had a winning hand across the board. But let me finish that story.
Yeah.
Because what they just did to my wife, maybe she was 25, 30, 40, maybe 40, 50. What they just did to my wife, they would turn around and do to my 12-year-old daughter. With me standing there. Same thing. I don't know if I'd have made it. I'm crazy talking about it. Make me want to cry just thinking about it.
Exactly.
But yes, no, this was tragedy. But let me now outsize it
Okay.
No more tragic than the people who got calls that their families had been caught in the World Trade Center. No more tragic than the soldiers and sailors' wives who got called after Pearl Harbor. No more tragic than the facts that surrounds the Holocaust. No more tragic. Man's inhumanity to man, the killing fields in Cambodia. The people slaughtered during purges in Russia. You know, the things that happened recently in Afghanistan and Syria. We need to remember these types of things. Not say 81 was more worse than the other, but we need to remember so we can stop doing it over and over and over again.
Amen. Amen.
That's I picture a place, and it's a beautiful area now. There are oak trees that were there when the sale took place. I walk on the property from time to time. I'm not supposed to,
Okay.
but I do. And it's called nonviolent civil disobedience.
Okay.
And so I just see it as, I see it one day being a place where people can walk through and contemplate and pray, maybe meditate and think and reflect. I see putting up the names.
Yes.
These names. 400 names on the wall. We don't have the whole name. We've got Suki, 26. Got Eddie, E-D-D-Y, 3 years old. We got Grace, 3 months old. We've got Mouse, he's 17. We got Chloe, 34. We got Reuben, 48.
Okay.
These aren't just names, these were people.
Yes.
These were lives. And yeah, we're gonna fight.
I have another question for you. Folks from all over the world have been chiming in or texting or what have you as to what can they do, because they're not here in Savannah, so they may not can show up at a court hearing. They may not can pass out flyers here, but who can they get in contact with? Is that's their state representative? What can they do to help?
Right now, we still need, and we're still soliciting historians. That could be a history teacher or a professor. Lawyers. That could be a law student, law professor, or practicing attorney. And public policy experts.
Okay.
That could be a professor who teaches. And we already have a couple of people who are expert witnesses for us, but we'd like more.
Okay.
Matter of fact, one of our public policy experts actually taught our mayor.
Okay. Okay.
And 2 other ladies on city council. 2 of those ladies on city council are supporting our efforts.
Okay.
That professor was saying to me, he don't understand what happened to our mayor.
Okay.
He said he can't figure it out. That wasn't who he thought he was teaching. And so we've got good witnesses.
Okay.
We've got a gentleman who was key to reparations for the people who were interred, the Japanese who were interred in American concentration camps during World War II. He was one of the key people who got that done. He's going to be one of our experts. We've got some, but we want more. And in order to help us, sometimes we might need you to testify, but a lot of times we just need you to help us with the research and the mechanisms of historic preservation. But we would like for you, you could direct message me.
Yes.
Okay? My name is Leonard Small with no S on the end. That's LeonardSmall. Okay? And you could direct message me if you have a skill or even if you, because we got people helping us maneuver through the system.
Yes.
You know, making phone calls to different people of influence. We've got a lady now that's trying to get us connected to the heads, the national heads of the Salvation Army.
Okay.
We have talked to people with the Department of Interior on a national basis and others. So we're working.
Well, one thing what happened in the past, when Mayor Johnson said that they did a study and said this is not the Weeping Time property.
Okay, so to try to prove that they could build on this property, they said they were going to do a archaeological study, and so they didn't go to an independent group. They went to a group of people that they had a contract with for something else and just hired them. They weren't voted on anything. So it was in their best interest, this group who was already working for the city, to say whatever the city wanted them to say. And so they did the report. It's called the Brockington Report. Okay, just in case somebody want to look up, go to the city of Savannah and look up the Brockington Report. So, like you said, I'm a voracious reader. I read the report. Subtitles, everything. I mean, the glossary. Okay, I read. That's what I do. So, when I finished reading the report, I said, even though they say in the report this was not the property, everything in the report says this was the property.
Okay.
So I said, well, all they need to do is send it to the Historic Preservation Office in Atlanta for review, which is what they are supposed to do by law. Mm-hmm. They said they would. The city manager at the time, interim city manager, wrote a letter to council saying they're going to send it to the Historic Preservation Office for review, and they expect to get the information back in 30 days. They never sent it to them.
Okay.
They sent it to the state archaeologist, who says, and wrote us back because we inquired of her, that she doesn't review it based on that criteria. And so they never sent it to the Historic Preservation Board.
Okay.
And that's why we're in court. Our demand is simply send it to the State Historic Preservation Board for review. The criteria is if the land in question is an area of potential effect. That's the legal term. If the land in question is an area of potential effect on the event, then it has to go through other criteria in order to build on it. That's what we're demanding.
Okay.
The land in question is 60 feet from the exact spot where the people were sold.
Okay.
Not 6 miles. The area of potential effect is normally 1 kilometer, or just roughly under a half mile.
Okay.
We're way within that group.
Okay.
And if the area has anything to do with the sale, okay, with the process of the sale, then it is to be protected. Well, the water source for 400 people is actually on the land in question. It was called Jasper Springs.
I see the marquee.
You couldn't have 400 people, and this was the only fresh water source on property, and they didn't go back and forth to it. And besides that, the Savannah Jockey Club, which had the races at this racetrack, that was the private entrance. Okay. And so, of course, since they had people with buggies and wagons and a thing called a dray and carriages, because this was a festive event, this area that we're talking about would have been the tailgate area.
Okay.
This would have been like we go tailgating in a football game.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
This would have been the tailgating area.
You're all over there.
They'd have been all over it. And the city of Savannah just doesn't want to do this.
Okay.
But this is what we found, and this might be interesting. We were talking to the Salvation Army about the reasonability of changing venues. What the whole time we was talking about it, they didn't talk to them. They didn't tell us that they'd already purchased the land. We talked to them for 2 or 3 hours. They never said, okay, we've already closed this deal. Okay? Now, that level of duplicity from a person saying they were a minister, to me, is unconscionable.
Okay.
Nevertheless, research, like I said, we read. Research shows, and we do these Freedom of Information Act requests, that the week before they purchased it, the city of Savannah contacted who? The State Preservation Office, and was sent a letter from the State Historic Preservation Office to the city of Savannah, telling them not only should they be seeking to put the property in question on the National Register, but the entire district.
Yeah.
That would include the entire West Savannah community.
That would, oh God, that'd have been a good thing for them over there.
Great.
Oh my God.
But the point of, did the city of Savannah act on any of that? No.
Didn't jump on it.
They got that email on Wednesday. They closed the sale on Friday. Thank you very much. We believe if we can get to an actual court hearing, we win.
Amen. We believe.
Now, this is not what you've heard is only the tip of the iceberg for the argument.
Yeah.
Okay, this is just a little snippet. There's a lot more to this.
Okay. A wise man don't tell his whole mind.
No, a wise man does not tell his whole mind.
All right. Well,
Okay.
we're good. We're good.
All right.
Let you go ahead and write it up.
We just want to make sure everybody understands that we've been fighting this fight for 2 years. We've been meeting every Sunday. And anybody who's seeing this can join those meetings. It's an open group. You go to our Facebook page, the Weeping Time Coalition Facebook page, and you go under features, and you'll see a link where you can actually come into the meetings. You can talk, you can ask questions. The meetings are open. If you want to join the Weeping Time Coalition, there are no dues.
Great.
There are no membership limitations. You simply say, I want to join. You can decide to answer the questions that we ask or not answer them. And you'll be a member.
All right.
You'll join the thousands who've already joined. So we just thank each and every one of you for your time and listening to us.
And wear your red on Tuesday.
Oh, on Tuesday. And if you come to the courthouse with us, or even if you're home by yourself, put on some red, because that's the color of
Show you.
our support.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you.